Let's go, Ravens! Celebrate! The week started off with a taste of victory, and winning this matchup against the Giants was simply essential to advancing to the playoffs. Not only did the Ravens secure a 35-14 victory, but they did so in a way that reminded us why this team has the potential to go far. I want to make a few important points here with you, but before I go any further, make sure you've already hit the like button, but only do so if you're really happy with the win against the Giants. If possible, write something like this: Go Ravens! Let's go to the Super Bowl! Nothing's going to stop us. Let's start with Lamar Jackson. What a game. Last week, his mother apparently scolded him, telling him he needed to run more. And if there's one thing we all know, when your mother tells you something, you listen. Lamar took that advice and brought his A game. He didn't put up insane rushing numbers, just 6 carries for 65 yards, but every run was decisive. There was one play that epitomized Lamar's unique style, running through defenders, dodging tackles, and pulling his pants down mid-play, all while continuing to gain positive yards. It's the kind of play that makes you sit up and realize just how special this guy is. And while his running was efficient, his passing was what really stole the show. Lamar threw 5 touchdown passes in this game, spreading the love across multiple receivers. His first touchdown went to Mark Andrews, and what a moment that was. Not only did it give the Ravens momentum after an early fumble by Lamar, but it also allowed Andrews to break a Ravens franchise record for touchdowns. Remember, Andrews started the season slow after dealing with injuries and even a car accident during the offseason. But he's back in form now, and this game was proof of that. You could see the connection between Lamar and Andrews on full display, a bond that has carried this offense time and time again. The next touchdown was all about Rashad Bateman. Bateman not only found the end zone once, but twice in this game, including a beautiful deep ball from Lamar. It's great to see Bateman stepping up and making plays, especially after a season where he's dealt with ups and downs. Justice Hill also got in on the action, scoring on a play where he found himself wide open. At first, it seemed like the pass might not count. It looked close to hitting the ground, but the officials upheld the call, and Hill cruised into the end zone untouched. Then there was Tylan Wallace, a name we haven't heard much about on offense this season. Wallace made his first NFL catch, and it wasn't just any catch, it was a touchdown. Talk about making the most of your opportunity. Let's not overlook the offensive line, which held its own and allowed the Ravens to rack up 170 rushing yards as a team. Derrick Henry led the way on the ground with 67 yards on 14 carries, while Lamar added his 65 and a few other contributors helped seal the deal late in the game. It wasn't the most dominant rushing performance we've seen from Baltimore, but it didn't need to be. The balance between the run game and Lamar's precision passing was enough to put up 35 points against a Giants defense that had no answers. On special teams, Justin Tucker wasn't called on for any field goals, which is a rare sight, but he was perfect on all 5 extra points as expected. Desmond King also looked promising in the punt return game, potentially signaling a shift away from Tylan Wallace in that role. Wallace has been solid but not explosive, and King's performance may open the door for more changes moving forward.
Defensively, the Ravens did their job, though the Giants' 14 points came largely due to penalties. Whether it was a roughing the passer call on Motorbike or pass interference on Brandon Stevens, the flags kept extending drives and giving New York opportunities they otherwise wouldn't have had. Even so, the defense held strong when it mattered, limiting the Giants to just 2 touchdowns. One of those scores came on a questionable catch against Desmond King, but it wasn't enough to threaten Baltimore's lead. What stood out most was how the Ravens handled their business. This wasn't one of those nail-biter games we've seen in the past. This was a team taking care of business the way they should, with Lamar even getting to rest during the fourth quarter. That's a luxury you rarely see, and it's a sign that Baltimore is starting to learn how to close out games against weaker opponents without unnecessary drama. Now, Ravens fans, it's time to hear from you. What did you think of this performance? Did Lamar and the offense meet your expectations? And what about those penalties? How do you feel the team could address that moving forward? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. We've got the Steelers coming up, and it's going to be a big one. Let's talk about it. Looking ahead, there's so much to take away from this game as the Ravens prepare for their next matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. The performance against the Giants wasn't just a win, it was a statement. The Ravens didn't play down to their competition this time, and that's a critical step forward for a team that has been plagued by inconsistency in these types of games. The win puts them at 9-5, right in the thick of the AFC playoff race, and sets the stage for what will undoubtedly be a heated divisional showdown. One of the most encouraging signs from this game was the evolution of Lamar Jackson under Todd Monken's offense. 2 years ago, you wouldn't see Lamar relying on checkdowns or spreading the ball around so effectively. This game highlighted just how much he has grown as a passer. From his chemistry with Mark Andrews to the trust he's building with players like Rashad Bateman and Justice Hill, it's clear that this offense is becoming more well-rounded. And let's not forget Tylan Wallace. His touchdown could be the start of something special. For a player who has spent much of his time on special teams, stepping up in a moment like this shows the depth and potential within the roster. The defense, while effective overall, does need to clean up the penalties. Yes, some calls were questionable, but others were clear mistakes that extended drives unnecessarily. In games against stronger opponents, those kinds of errors could be costly. The roughing the passer call on Justin Matabike and the pass interference on Brandon Stevens are the types of penalties that can swing momentum in close games. Still, the defense showed resilience, particularly in the red zone, and limited the Giants to just 14 points despite the setbacks. Another area of intrigue is the shift in special teams. Desmond King looked comfortable as a punt returner, and it'll be interesting to see if he becomes a permanent fixture in that role. Tylan Wallace, who has been solid but unspectacular in the return game, might see his focus shift more toward offense. If Wallace can capitalize on his opportunities as he did with his touchdown against the Giants, it could create even more flexibility for the Ravens roster moving forward. This game also reinforced the importance of roster depth, with players like Isaiah likely contributing alongside Mark Andrews and the backfield continuing to provide a steady ground game. The Ravens are showing that they have the tools to adapt to different situations. That adaptability will be crucial as the postseason approaches and the level of competition increases. Derrick Henry's steady presence in the running game and the emergence of players like Justice Hill and Tylan Wallace are clear indicators that this team is prepared to spread the workload when needed. Looking ahead to the Steelers game, the Ravens can't afford to let up. Pittsburgh always brings intensity in these divisional matchups, and with just 6 days to recover, Baltimore will need to fine-tune their game plan and clean up those penalty issues. The Steelers, even when struggling, are never an easy out, and this game could have significant playoff implications. But if the Ravens bring the same focus and execution we saw against the Giants, there's no reason they can't come away with another statement win. Ravens fans, the floor is yours. After watching this game, how do you feel about the team's progress? Is Lamar Jackson hitting his stride at the perfect time? Are you concerned about the penalties, or do you think the defense will tighten up when it matters most? And what about the offense? How confident are you in their ability to carry this momentum into Pittsburgh? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. With the playoff race heating up, this is the time to rally behind the team and keep believing in what this squad can accomplish. Let's hear your thoughts.